sometimes it's just the principle of the thing. And it should be the principle of the thing most of the time. Now, the picture you see in front of you is a scene taken from the demonstrations that took place in New York. And this is the third night that demonstrations have gone on in New York. But there are a lot of cities around the country that are demonstrating against the presidency of Donald Trump. They're demonstrating because, number one, Clinton actually did win the popular vote, but she lost the Electoral College. And there have, for years, been rumblings about getting rid of the Electoral College, because obviously numbers really don't mean that much as far as the Electoral College is concerned. Now, there have been demonstrations in New York, Denver, Seattle, Phoenix, Albuquerque, Baltimore, Boston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington, Richmond, Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Kansas City, Missouri, Atlanta, Georgia, Omaha, Nebraska, Dallas, Texas, and Austin, Texas. Now, I principally want to speak about several of these cities, specifically Phoenix, Columbus, Madison, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Atlanta, Omaha, Dallas, and Austin. Where were you guys on Tuesday? Where were you? Phoenix, or the state of Arizona, has a huge Hispanic population. There are a bunch of Democrats and independents that live in the state of Arizona. So my question is, where were you? You guys came out in sufficient numbers in Maricopa County to get rid of that racist ass sheriff, Joe Arpaio. Where were your numbers? Where were your brethren in the state of Arizona that needed to and should have come out against Donald Trump? We know that the Arizona numbers were fairly close. And we also know that there were a lot of voters that didn't show up. So my question is, if you guys are so upset now, why weren't you upset enough then to come out and vote? The same can be said for Columbus and Cleveland. Where were you guys? You guys want to take to the streets now, but where were you when it came time to vote? Now, I understand that probably a lot of you did go to the polls, but I also understand that a lot of you didn't. But now all of a sudden you want to take to the streets and demonstrate and riot and whatever. But if you had used this same energy to recruit your brethren to go to the polls to vote against Trump, you could have turned a tide for the state of Ohio. I want to say the same thing about Madison and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I really can't talk too bad about the people in Philadelphia because they, in fact, did deliver. But Pittsburgh didn't. And I still believe that there were some votes left on the table. Now, there's protests in Kansas City, Missouri. That went for Trump. Atlanta was dead close. And all of you people that are out there protesting, if you had gotten up off your butts and got people that you know to go to the polls, and I have friends there, and I was talking to them till I was blue in the face about getting up and voting, and they did not go and vote. Omaha, Nebraska, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas. Now, I know that those were probably more than likely lost causes, as deep red as Omaha, Nebraska, well, not even Omaha, but the state of Nebraska is, and as pretty solid red Texas is. But you know something? I'm going to roll back on the Texas part. There are a ton, a load of Hispanics that live in the state of Texas. And I will venture to say that the majority of the Hispanics or Latinos, if I want to be corrected, as I was by one of my subscribers, there are a ton of Latinos in Texas that voted Republican. Miami, Florida, same situation. Tons of Latinos in Florida, and a bunch of them voted Republican. So I don't want to hear it that you guys are dissatisfied. There's not a damn thing that you can do in order to reverse the results of this election. A bunch of you guys stayed home. You were counseled incorrectly by various outlets, Hispanic, white, and black alike, that you didn't need to and shouldn't vote. And that was a bunch of crap. Because if for nothing else, this election is going to affect you, your kids, and potentially your grandkids for the next 25 years or so. Why do I say that? Because Donald Trump is going to appoint anywhere from 1 to 3 Supreme Court justices over the next 4 years. So now you can kiss affirmative action goodbye. You can kiss protection of your voting rights goodbye. You can kiss abortion rights goodbye. For you LGBTQ people, you can kiss marriage equality goodbye. When all of this starts happening, I don't want to hear any of you guys say a single word. Women, you had some hope of equal pay for equal work. You can forget that. You can also forget any type of help as far as family leave, because that's probably going to start disappearing. So in other words, 50% of the people that actually did vote for Donald Trump, in my opinion, voted against their own self-interests. But 50% of the population that was eligible to vote basically just closed their eyes, sat on their couches, and pissed away their right for self-determination. So I don't want to hear it. Muslims, there's a segment of you guys that voted for Trump. So I don't want to hear it when these white supremacists start rolling around and targeting you guys and attacking your women and vandalizing your mosques. I don't want to hear it. And it's already happening. Latinos, when they start snatching up your friends and family members and deporting them without any type of real due process, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you talking about your kids crying in school while these white supremacists in training start chanting, build a wall, or wetbacks go home, wetbacks go home. I don't want to hear it. This has turned into a debacle, and it could have been avoided. But you let the Republican Party feed you the okie doke, and you swallowed. Now, black people, you getting ready to go through hell. But you know something? We've been there before, and we've survived, and we will survive this. But for all you black millennials that decided to listen to the bullshit about not voting, when they snatch your ass up on bullshit and start arresting you on bullshit charges, or even worse, killing you in the streets, and you guys are the ones that are most endangered, do not come running and crying, asking for help, because you guys could have stepped up to the plate to avoid a bunch of this. Now, specifically, at a bunch of these protests, there appear to be signs of the Black Lives Matter movement participating. You need to get your asses out of there. Let the people that are out there protesting handle their own business. Why is it that every single time some other group gets out there to protest, I'm talking about the Latinos, I'm talking about the LGBTs, I'm talking about the Muslims, I'm talking about damn near everybody else. For whatever dumb reason, we get out there and protest right along with them. We support them. Well, hell, it's time to change directions. Because when we get out there and protest Not a damn one of them, not a damn one of these groups is out there protesting with us. And I'm talking about en masse. I'm not talking about a sprinkling here and there. I'm talking about en masse. So, number one, black people, we need to come together and consolidate and get an action plan in order to benefit us. Now, when I say that, I'm talking specifically about black men and black women stopping this stupid black feminazi bullshit and coming together as a unit. Black women have been sold a bill of goods by these white feminists, but when the rubber meets the road, they're nowhere to be found. So you sisters need to wake up and smell the roses. The white feminists are not your friends. They are using you. And when they are done using you, they disappear, never to be heard from. Why do I say that? Well, let me ask you a question. Where were the white feminists when Sandra Bland was killed? Where was all of the outpouring of support and the outrage against what was done to her? Where were the white feminists when Miss Alexander down in Florida was put in jail for defending herself, when she tried to use stand your ground and it didn't fly initially? Yeah, she's out of jail now, all right, on appeal, and they have decided not to go forward, so she's a free woman. But where were you guys in support of her? Where were you guys when that woman in California got beat down by that California Highway Patrol officer? Where were you guys? She was a woman. She really hadn't done anything wrong. And that cop beat her down. Where were you guys? Or is it just that when it's a black man that's involved, like a Chris Brown or Ray Rice or a Bill Cosby, all of a sudden then you can show your faces. Then you can talk to our black women and tell them that they need to kick us to the curb. No. See, that's why, my sisters, when they start spewing that bullshit, those are the questions that you need to ask them. You need to ask them why they didn't come out en masse against Donald Trump. He had a child rape case moving against him that I believe somehow was dismissed. He made all kinds of sexist comments, including grabbing your lower parts. But, as was pointed out to me, when it comes to a choice between supporting your man or men or your race and supporting a sexist pig, you're going to support the race every single time, even if it means supporting that sexist pig. So I don't want to hear it. So people, we need to get together. We need to stop trying to play Captain Save everybody else. We need to concentrate on first and foremost all these other groups to the curb. And I'm talking about the LGBTs, kick them to the curb because they're never around when we're in need. We need to kick all these Muslims and Jews. We need to kick these Latinos. We need to kick every group that's out there that doesn't support us. We need to focus what little that we have and grow it. Now, one of the things that we really need to do, and guess what? We're going to get a whole lot of help with that, is we need to grow our numbers. And fortunately for us, we're going to get a lot of help from Donald Trump. You're shaking your head wondering how Donald Trump's going to help us? There's a little known law, Roe v. Wade, which allowed legalized abortion. Well, that's gone. And that was one of the contributing factors to our numbers not rising as fast as they should have. With that gone, we will rise from the number 2 minority, because the Latinos are the number 1 minority, and I don't count this, women as being a minority because they're not. Over the next 20 years, based on us doing what we do, we should be able to pass the number 1 minority, which is the Hispanics. Numbers in this system, especially voting numbers in this system, equal power. And no, I'm not talking about being able to elect the president or senators, but it will equal power as far as electing members of the House of Representatives, and that's where all funding bills originate. But more importantly than that, that will help to give us power in order to elect our local politicians, our mayors, police chiefs, commissioners, etc. It'll also give us power as far as electing state representatives, and in due course, governors. Folks, we got to play the long game. And a lot of you people out there are only interested in the short game. What I mean by the short game is elections that are happening within a year's period of time, maybe 2. The long game is elections 4 years down the road, 8 years down the road, 12 years down the road. That's the long game. And we need to start playing the long game. I've dealt with a lot of people throughout my career, and quite a few of them were from Japan and China. And one thing that they taught me was that America is only interested in immediate gratification. They have no vision for the long-term future. And that's why the Asian companies are so successful, because they're willing to accept setbacks for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because they're looking 20 years down the road. And we need to take that same philosophy. I made previous videos where I stated before we need to start off small. And again, small is local elections. Elections for mayor, city council, etc. We need to get our own candidates up there and in place, and then work them up from there. We need to hold the people that we get in there accountable, which for some reason we never seem to do. If we're made promises and those promises aren't kept, we need to kick whoever it was to the curb and find somebody else, plain and simple. Now, I was reviewing some of the comments on one of my previous videos, and a white guy came at me with one sentence. He said that we are too race conscious. And I thought about that, and I shot him back a response. But that particular comment stayed on my mind. And now I'm of the opinion that we are not race conscious enough. We need to be just as race conscious as all of the other races in this country, all of the other groups in this country. Everybody else can come together for a common cause except us. That needs to change. So, specifically, we need to stop all of this bullshit between black men and black women. We need to stop that. Men, you need to recognize the value of our women, and women, you need to recognize the value of our men. You need to stop denigrating them, and that's on both sides. Anyway, that's just my thoughts about this situation and what's going to sooner or later peter out, because people have short memories, and unless something really strikes them to the core and stays there, they tend to move on. And that's exactly what's going to happen here with all of these riots. Yeah, they may last, another couple of days. They may pop up from time to time. But as far as the long term is concerned, people are going to move on. I'm not. I'm going to continue to point stuff out. I'm going to continue to ask our people to come together. I'm going to continue to ask that we focus what little economic, and it's not really little, economic power that we have. We need to target, we need to boycott, because that is in effect an action. But just jumping up and down and marching and holding signs and yelling chants, that ain't going to get it. We need to hit the people where it hurts. And the first place you hit is in the pocketbook. So we need to focus boycotts against individual retailers. We need to boycott service companies, goods and service companies. If these companies don't demonstrate a real, and I do mean real, solidarity and empathy for our causes, then we need to show the same lack of empathy for their products, for their services. Anyway, it's just my rant, and I think I spent enough time doing it.